Okay, so one thing that I must definitely include in this Saturn in the seventh house episode is the fact that it's not all doom and gloom, because it would sound as if only the strong relationships survive and all the weak ones end, which it doesn't sound that easy. You know, it sounds very dismal, actually. It doesn't really give you much to look forward to. But what I would say is there's a lot of things that can happen. And when I was talking about 0 point energy and like that Saturn and to some extent Pluto flattens the energy and then it creates a space for something new to come from it. Well, relationships that do start during a Saturn in the seventh house transit can be lasting relationships. You know, Saturn, just as a kind, I was asleep and dreaming, and last night thinking, in my dream, you know how you review things and revise things, and in my dream I realised that I'd not put the upside of Saturn into this podcast, so I'm adding this in the next day, and I'm feeling very happy that I'd scheduled it and not actually published it fully, so I can take it back and add this in. But anyway, a little digression there. But Saturn is to do with responsibility and form and structure, and some Saturn transits show up to show the formation of really strong structures or relationships where there's a great responsibility to each other, relationships that you take seriously, relationships that you want in your life forever, you know, something permanent. And Saturn is all about permanence. You know, you can't really budge a Saturn from their moral convictions, or you know, Saturn knows what is what, and when Saturn shows up and you're free and you're an empty vessel for a perfect relationship, and you've done all the work that you need to do on yourself, then Saturn can show up with a really, really great relationship. You know, I think it's worth taking heart from that, you know, this can mark the start of a very, very serious relationship, and one that leads to proper commitment, and one that leads to the celebration of the commitment, that the relationship is about the commitment, and that's a really strong thing for some people. So it's worth bearing that in mind. And also Saturn in the seventh house might also show that you're attracting older people into your life, or more responsible people. I mentioned that at the start of the podcast, you know, that you might be going through a time of attracting very serious people into your life, but never really mentioned the older bit, or the guru bit, or the wise bit. I mean, if you're on a spiritual quest, then having Saturn go through your seventh house is really quite useful, because it means you're going to be meeting the teachers and also the lessons involved in living the teachings. So it's, you know, there are flip sides and upsides to every different aspect. And when you work with Saturn, yeah, it can really work with you. And I'm going to do a separate recording about Saturn and Saturn's phases and how they've impacted my life, because a child has come along every time Saturn's been in a position, a particular position, and Saturn has been implicated in my own relationship, which has put me in the happiest state I've been in my whole life. And I'm glad to say we've got through our first 7 years as well, so that's always good, bearing in mind Saturn and Uranus work on 7-year shifts. So hopefully that little addition has been useful, and forgive me for not having put it in the original recording. Many thanks.